Swatika. I'm Robin Kwok. I'm the country manager for Southeast Asia, Hong Kong, and Taiwan at Airbnb. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd love to say a huge thank you to the Ministry of Digital Economy and His Excellence for the kind invitation to come and represent Airbnb here today. So today I will share with you some trends that we're seeing here at Airbnb for reimagining the travel industry. So first of all, we all know this already. Our world is changing. And what does that mean? It means the people are changing as well. They have different needs and they have different consumer behaviors. And in fact, the consumer behaviors include the consumption of media. So how they're using their laptops and their phones and taking in events and life experiences are very different these days. So let me share with you some of the things we're seeing at Airbnb in terms of global trends. So first of all, we're seeing a lot of movement from other cities to urban cities. And it's not unlike here in Thailand. So you're seeing a lot of population shift to Bangkok, for instance. And what does this mean? That people moving to the urban cities have different needs, and they're consuming media and the way they approach life in different ways. So this is an important part of our conversation when we talk about democratizing travel and tourism for various cities. We also need to underscore the generations. So millennials are the largest living generation today, and that's forecasted to grow. So millennials are a huge part of our generation, and why is that important? Because millennials are also consuming media in very unique ways. In one such way, over 3 out of 4 people in the millennial generation will say that if they could choose where they spend their money, they would spend it on life experiences or certain events, not on things that they would own or have. And because of that, they're more willing to share, and they play a big part in the sharing economy. So let's look at the other generations. The generation that's following millennials will be Generation Z. Generation Z are for those who are born after 1995, and that generation's growing as well. In fact, if you take a look at Gen Z, they're starting early. They're starting as early as little kids in how they consume media through their different forms of laptops and phones. And what does that mean? So for millennials, on average, they consume media about over 3 different ways. But Gen Z consumes about 5 different ways, including the iPod, iPad, TV, their phones. And they're very self-sufficient when it comes to consuming media. They do a lot of research and self-education. And here are some examples of how they consume the different media. About a third will want to study lessons online. About 65% would rather buy their items, their clothes, their books, electronics online, and so much more. And this is why it's incredibly important for companies like ours to be designing for mobile first. And this is not different from our Airbnb travelers today. In fact, we're seeing that more and more people want to use their phones to book travel. So that's why it's important for us to understand how they're searching for Airbnb listings and how they're booking and paying. So what does this mean for all of us today? So in the digital economy, our technologies are changing, and we can't avoid that. So I've already talked about the phones. We already know that mobile consumption is huge for us. On top of that, we're seeing computing power changing. So if many of you know from electronics, we have many transistors in all these different phones, TVs, the different electronics that we use. The transistors are becoming smaller. They're also becoming faster and cheaper. So here's an example of just how important computing power is. And why is that important? Because the rise of internet is inevitable, especially here in Southeast Asia. So we expect that about over 4.7 billion users on the internet will be coming forward by 2025. Just some other examples of how important it is to receive the internet adoption. And what does this mean for us? Well, first of all, what cars were to baby boomers are what phones are to millennials. And this means that as more and more people are adopting this type of electronic, they're now wanting to share in a different way as well. And in fact, we're starting to see the rise of people wanting to share homes. They share their homes as in their couches, their beds, their rooms, their homes, their tree houses, their tents, whatever it may be. We're starting to see a rise in people wanting to share. And it's not stopping there. So people are now sharing gardens. They're sharing herbs and plants from their gardens. They're sharing tools. They're also sharing even their pets. In fact, there are some startups where you can share your pets, as in your dogs and your cats, so that they can also help others as they cope with things and enjoy the pets together. So what else is changing? I've talked about all these different trends already. Transportation is changing, which means travel is changing. So if we take a look at how people travel now, I'm sure all of you know already as you take flights, you want different things as you get on a plane. This is very important, especially here in Asia Pacific, because as he mentioned earlier, here at Airbnb, we know that Asia Pacific is one of our fastest growing regions in the entire world. In fact, in Asia, we saw about 177% year-on-year growth to date, which is huge. And a big driver for this growth is Southeast Asia. And within Southeast Asia, Thailand is a top driver, especially for international guests traveling inbound to experience Thailand. So with this increase in inbound tourism, what else are we seeing? Huge rise in global air passengers, huge rise in international tourist arrivals, and nearly 10% of global economy is due to travel and tourism. And that's not unlike here in Asia. In fact, a big part of Southeast Asia GDP is due to travel and tourism. And for Thailand specifically, we're seeing nearly 21% of contribution to GDP in just the past year. And that's forecasted to rise in the upcoming 5 to 6 years. And what's a big driver of this growth? Chinese travelers, and I'm sure we all know this. I see some people in the front row. They understand. It's true. More and more Chinese travelers will be traveling to here in Southeast Asia and to other places around the world. They have more time and money to spend, and they want to experience living like a local. So please, you have to watch the space as more and more Chinese travelers come. And what are they looking for? Specifically, Chinese millennial travelers, they want these intangible experiences that they can only have by traveling to another country, to another culture, and have this access to culture, food, and different hospitality. And we know here in Southeast Asia that hospitality is so unique and so sincere. And Southeast Asia is such a big driver of this that Chinese travelers are coming more and more to places like Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia. And within Southeast Asia, Thailand plays a big part. Bangkok, Phuket, and Chiang Mai are some of the top destinations for Chinese travelers coming to Southeast Asia. So what else is changing here? Well, we talked about the natural and current events changing. We know that trends are changing for technologies. We know that different generations have different needs. Our economy is changing. People are now spending their time in different ways. So you have people who are artists by day and then drivers by night. And in fact, some of our friends from the ride-sharing industry will be talking later. And in general, the vast majority of people are starting to enjoy freelancing. They start out by doing it out of necessity because they need to earn supplemental income, because they don't have another job and they need to make do by the living means. But then they end up really enjoying it. In fact, they make a little more money and they're able to be more flexible with their time. So those are some examples of what we see with the sharing economy. And it's no different from our Thai hosts, hosts being those who share their space with others here in Thailand. So when we ask Thai hosts, why do you use Airbnb? Some of their top reasons are right here. They want to cover their mortgage payments and be able to afford living here in Thailand. They want to be able to cover the transportation costs. They want to be able to earn enough money to pay for the groceries for their families. They want to be able to earn enough money to take vacations with their families. And hence, you have the emergency of the sharing economy. And it's not stopping here. It's rapidly growing, and you're going to be hearing from a lot of our friends in the sharing economy today. So very excited for you to hear more about it. Here are some of the megatrends that we're seeing at Airbnb. We're seeing the sharing economy encompass the people, technology, climate, economy, and travel. And there's really two major parts to the sharing economy, which are basically the labor and the capital. And you'll be hearing from someone else from Deloitte later today on this a little more. But what we're doing here in Airbnb, it really has started from something about 8 to 9 years ago. The thing is, sharing homes was always around. It's nothing novel and nothing new. But what Airbnb is doing is creating the access for more and more tourists to be able to use this. And we're reimagining the travel for different tourists and travelers alike. So here's the beginning of the modern sharing economy. And I share the story because we need to start from the very beginning. Here are our founders, Joe, Nate, and Brian. Brian being our CEO. So back in 2007, 2008, they realized they couldn't afford to pay their rent in San Francisco, where rent was very expensive. They knew that they had some extra space in their home, so they thought, why don't we go ahead and share the space with some travelers who are coming into San Francisco? We can then make a little more money, and we can meet some new people. They ended up quickly creating a website. So this is, again, the first point of the importance of changing technologies. And they whipped up a minimal viable product. Within just 24 hours, they were able to receive some bookings from guests, and they met their first guests. Here are Kat, Amol, and Michael, who stayed with the co-founders when they first went to San Francisco. What they realized then is it's not all about the bed that you're sharing or the couch that you're sharing. What's really magical is actually the experience that you're having with each other. It's when you recommend your local restaurant. It's when you're sharing your favorite park that you're going to. It's when you're picking them up from the airport and dropping them back off at the airport. This is the beginning to Airbnb. And now on Airbnb, you can find any type of home that you can share. You can share a bed. You can book an entire apartment for one night. You can book a tree house on the platform. And you can even book an igloo. So there's all different types of homes to help people live like a local and live authentically. So what has happened over the past 8, 9 years? I mentioned about the founders about 8, 9 years ago starting. Things have really grown quickly. And in fact, we grew really fast in North America first, then in Europe, and then within the past 3 to 4 years, we're rapidly growing here in Asia Pacific. Hence that we're one of the fastest growing parts of the world for Airbnb. And we're in over 220, we have over 220 million guest arrivals to date in 191 countries around the world. That's nearly every country in the world in about 65,000 cities. So we're growing fast, and we need to scale and ensure that we're continually building the right platform for these people. And the global sharing economy is projected to grow fast as well. So we're anticipating a $335 billion growth by 2025. And it really started from these millennials. I mentioned the generation earlier. It started from them and how they're traveling. We're also seeing a growth in different types of hosts. In fact, not all Airbnb users are very young. We're seeing a rise in global hosts who are older. Those who are retired have some space in their home to share with others. We call them empty nesters. And one of our fastest growing demographics is for women over the age of 60. The reason why they're hosting is because they can generate some supplemental income, but they're also saying that they're able to spend time with others and show their hospitality, make new friends. They like the idea of welcoming new guests and being able to showcase their local city that they're very proud of. And in fact, they're earning about an $8,350 US dollars per year, and we're seeing about 52% increase over a typical Social Security income. This is an example from the US, but it's not unlike in every other part of the world. They're also saying that they're making more of a connection with others. In fact, many of the senior hosts here in Thailand will tell us they get to meet foreign guests where they get to practice speaking their English. And also they say that they're not able to travel anymore because of their old age. But by sharing their space on Airbnb, they're able to meet foreign guests and feel like they're traveling through them. It's a really exciting story if you hear it. So what is our social value proposition? Because Airbnb really is all about connecting the world. Our mission is to help 7.5 billion people feel like they can belong anywhere and really live anywhere like a local. A big part of our mission is to democratize travel. While the traditional business districts are receiving these great benefits from tourism, we also want to democratize the travel so that other rural areas can receive these benefits alike. I'll share some examples with you today of what we've been seeing over the past 1 or 2 years. So in Paris recently, if you take a look at this map here, all these dots here represent our Airbnbs. The blue dots represent where traditional accommodations are. And you can see that with just the red dots, we've been able to democratize travel across Paris. And it's interesting, we're seeing even stronger examples here in Asia Pacific. So let me share one in Singapore. I'm from Singapore, and what we're seeing now is that a lot of the different traditional accommodations are in central business district. They're in the areas where tourists usually go to stay and shop and stay in hotels. But now, as we're starting to see distribution of homes across Singapore, a little over 75% of the homes are actually outside traditional business districts. That means that local business vendors, small, medium-sized businesses, entrepreneurs are now all able to see benefits and earn that supplemental income from other tourists. And this is all an underlying thing to our mission around sustainable tourism. Because in order to be in 191 countries, we can't really grow without being sustainable and responsible in how we approach sharing homes. 97% of the income, for instance, is kept by the hosts. We only take 3%. That means the hosts can then use 97% to go do whatever they like with their families or for themselves and for their businesses. Okay, so I've talked a lot about trends, and I've talked a lot about what we're seeing. So what else is Airbnb doing in addition to democratizing travel and distributing tourism benefits? Well, first of all, we know that 86% of our guests use Airbnb because they want to live like a local. That means they want to see where local Thais go to eat food, where they go to the bars, where they go to the parks, what types of museums they go to. They want to see what it's like to be a local Thai. So we really emphasis on co-designing with our guests and our hosts and our community because our community is so important to us. And we really believe in partnering with local authorities. In fact, it's such a priority to us to partner with local government and ministries that we co-design with them and make sure that we can coexist. And what does that mean? So we've worked with over 275 governments around the world, and we've collected some best practices in something called a policy tool chest. In that policy tool chest, we talk about how governments can address their needs through home sharing, what they would like to see. We know that no government is the same in each city or county or country, so we really do our best to partner with the local governments to hear what they need. Here are some examples of what that policy tool chest encompasses. How to cover paying taxes, how to share data, and how to have the right policy framework for smart regulatory regulations. And at the center of our entire platform for 191 countries right now is our people. So our platform is a community-powered platform where people are sharing with each other, both hosts and guests alike. So we really do take good care of our community, both hosts and guests. So here are some examples. In Thailand, we have some of the most heartwarming hosts here. They're extremely passionate about Airbnb. And we do whatever we can to ensure that they have the right tools and platform and opportunities to continue to host on Airbnb. So what's next? I'll end today by sharing with you some of the new things that we have on the technology forefront. So we started out by having a platform where we can share our unique accommodations to live like a local. But most recently, we launched something called Trips. It's where we want to build an end-to-end platform for travelers to live like a local. And this is just the beginning. So this is what most of us want, right? When we travel, we want this kind of aspirational experience. We want to leave changed. We want to go back with amazing pictures to post on media and to share stories with our families and our friends. But unfortunately, this is what a lot of people get. They have to wait in line to get into a museum or into a store. They have to pay a very expensive price for tickets to get into something that everyone else is also trying to get into. And their pictures and their experiences are not unique. They're actually the same as many other people's. So how do we transform the travel industry for everyone who wants to live like this? So I want to introduce to you something called Trips. where we have experiences that are handcrafted activities for people to live like a local and meet with hosts who can share their craft, their hobby, their profession, or their interests. This right here is a snapshot from Thailand. So if you actually look at your Airbnb app, you can take a look at the Thailand experiences. I want to share with you today some of my most memorable experiences. So most recently, I met with these two folks here, Matthew and Dunk, who are local celebrity entrepreneurs in lifestyle and sports. They own a Muay Thai gym in La Prau. They hosted us by bringing us in, and we were able to train like a Muay Thai fighter with professional fighters. It was my first time ever doing it, and I can tell you I'm not very athletic and a very good fighter, but I left really changed. I left feeling stronger, and I have more respect for the Thai culture and Thai tradition. So we trained alongside professional fighters, and then we got to go to Lumpini Arena to look at professional fighters fight their fights. That was the most transformational experience because now everything we learned, we got to see applied in the real world. We got up close and personal to the ring, and throughout the training, we made a lot of new friends. In fact, I made 5 new friends, and I got to see how much more, what I could do with Muay Thai fighting. So this is just one example. And I'm grateful for Thai hosts like Matthew and Dunk because they're the ones who are showing more of Thai culture to other people who are traveling to Thailand, whether it be from Chiang Mai to Bangkok or from China to Bangkok or from Europe to Bangkok. But that's just one example. We now have more experiences. In fact, we have a handful of experiences. You can discover the art of a sacred bamboo tattoo and how to get one. You can also learn how to cook with our local host. Her name is Tatia. She's amazing at cooking. I just took it yesterday. I learned now how to make tom yum soup. And you can explore a local market and then have a really fun cook-off with your friends, cooking local Thai delights. So these are just some examples of what you can find on our app now with experiences. And it's just the beginning. So we have homes, experiences, and there's more to come. This is Airbnb's mission. We want to connect 7.5 billion people, as I mentioned earlier, but specifically here in Thailand, we want to showcase more of the Thai hospitality and culture to the rest of the world. I know that the local Thais are very proud of it. I'm very proud of it. I've fallen in love with the culture as well. So the more that we can connect others to the Thailand hospitality, I think the better. And that is the Airbnb mission. So hopefully you enjoyed and learned something today. Khap kun ka.
ด้วยนะครับขอเสียงปรบมือให้กับคุณโรบิน Kwok อีกสักครั้งหนึ่งด้วยนะครับจาก Airbnb นะครับ Please remain on stage as we have a souvenir for you.
Okay, thank you.
ในโอกาสนี้นะครับขอเรียนเชิญคุณกัสมากองสมัครผู้อำนวยการฝ่ายนโยบายและยุทธศาสตร์สำนักงานส่งเสริมเศรษฐกิจดิจิทัลให้เกียรติขึ้นมอบของที่ระลึกด้วยครับก็เป็นอีกหนึ่งเซสชั่นนะครับที่น่าสนใจทีเดียวนะครับเกี่ยวกับ Airbnb นะครับในเซสชั่น Experiences ก็เป็นประสบการณ์ต่างๆนะครับซึ่งสามารถที่จะได้เกี่ยวกับประเทศนั้นๆขอบพระคุณทั้งสองท่านครับ Thank you very much Thank you very much